Hello, I'm going to walk through an Arch Linux install in UEFI from VirtualBox. So if you want to follow along, you have VirtualBox installed, go ahead and open it up and let's create our VM. I normally give my VM 4 gigs of RAM, so let me give it a name here, Arch Install. 4 gigs of RAM I normally give it, so 496. Enter. Leave that as default. Leave that as default. That. And I give my VMs about 100 gigs, so, or anywhere close to 100 gigs. That's good. Create. Now let's go in here and change a couple settings in your system. I normally get rid of my floppy. It's kind of stupid that they even have that in there now. Enable EFI mode since that's what we're doing. Go to my processor and I'll up it to 4. Enable PAE and nested VT. Display, I'll give it the full video memory. And storage, let's mount our Arch Linux ISO. And okay, now let's start this VM. Start. Takes a couple minutes to boot up, so don't get worried. Once it's booted up and you're at a prompt, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you're connected to the internet. For the most part for me, all my machines are hardwired and I should be perfectly fine. I don't really ever have anything on Wi-Fi unless it's my phone or maybe a tablet. So for tutorial's sake, let's go ahead and ping google.com. I have a ping response, so I'm good. Clear that. Our next step is let's go ahead and set up our network time protocol. So we do a time, date, Ctl, set NTP to true. All right. Now our next step is going to be to create our partitions. And the utility that we're going to use for that, or what I normally use, is CF disk. But before I do that, I'll go ahead and do a ls blk, which will give me a list of my drives that I have. And as you can see, my SDA is the 103 gigs that I had set when I created my VM. So in order to partition that, we'll do a CF disk dev SDA and hit enter. We're going to do a GUID partition table. We're in UEFI, so go ahead and accept the defaults here. And the first partition we'll set up is our EFI Boot Partition, and I normally give that 500 megs. I've seen other people give it a lot less, but I have plenty of drive space, so I just normally stick with 500 megs. So hit enter, and then change your partition size to 500 megs, or if you want to do 250, that's fine. Like I said, I always do 500. So hit enter, and because this is our boot EFI partition, we need to change the boot type to EFI. So go to type and scroll all the way up to the top, EFI system, and then that partition is set. The next one I'll do is the swap partition. Now normally on a hardware install of Arch Linux, I don't use swap partition because I have plenty of RAM. But for tutorial's sake on this, I've only allocated 4 gigs of RAM for this VM. They suggest to have 2 times the RAM you have for your swap. So if I've got 4 gigs, I'm going to give swap 8 gigs. So let's give it a swap 8 gigs here. Hit enter, and then change it to 8 gigs. Hit enter, and we need to change the type to Linux swap. Now our root partition, I'm going to go ahead and give mine 30 gigs. Hit enter. By default, it's already on the Linux file system, which we're going to use ext4. so that you don't have to do anything there. Go to the last of the free space. We're going to use the remaining free space up for our home directory. So hit enter. Accept the default partition size since we're taking up the rest of the drive. And the boot or the file type is going to be Linux file system, which is already by default, so we should be good. So let's go ahead and write the partitions to the table. And we hit yes. Okay, everything's been written. And let's get out, quit. Let's clear the screen and do an lsblk, lsblk. Now you have a list of all the partitions that we have created. We have our SDA1, which is our boot partition, SDA2, which is our swap partition, SDA3 is our root partition, and SDA4 is going to be our home partition. So let's go ahead and format these. For our boot partition, it has to be FAT32, so we'll do an mkfs.fat hyphen capital F32 dev SDA1. That has been formatted. Let's do our swap partition, which we need to do mk swap dev SDA2. Let's set up. Now let's turn it on. Swap on dev SDA2. Let's format the next two partitions, which is going to be our root and our home partition. So mkfs.ext4, since that's the file type we're going to do, dev SDA3, enter. And then I'll just do an up arrow and change SDA3 to SDA4 and hit enter. All right, all our partitions and drives have been formatted, so we are ready to do our base install of Arch Linux. So in order to do that, let's first clear the screen. We're going to do a pack strat. Oh no, I'm sorry. We need to mount our partitions. Almost lost it there. Let's do an lsblk. Now it's time to create a couple directories in our MNT. So first, let's mount our MNT partition, which is going to be SDA3. So we're going to type in mount dev SDA3 MNT. Now we want to create a couple directories in MNT, which is going to be our boot EFI directory and our home directory. So mkdir MNT boot, mkdir MNT boot EFI, and then our home directory, which will be mkdir MNT home. Now let's mount those directories that we created. So we will mount dev SDA1 MNT boot EFI, and then our home directory is going to be mount dev SDA4 MNT home. Now we're ready. It's clear. Now we're going to install the base Arch. So we'll do a pack strat, MNT, base devil, Linux-firmware, and our editor of choice, just do nano, and hit enter. This will take a couple minutes. Now normally when I do Arch installs, I install two different types of desktops. Either KDE Plasma or a tiling window manager called BSPWM. For this tutorial purposes, I will do Plasma. I have Plasma and PSPWM on my work machine here. I like to go back and forth between the two. There's also a KWin script for KDE for Plasma that will make Plasma a tiling window manager, and I'll show you that as well. All right, our base install is completed. Let's clear the screen, and we're going to create our FS tab, which is our drives, so our partitions, I should say. So let's do a gen FS tab dash capital U MNT and that's going to be written to mnt etc fs tab, and hit enter. Now let's make sure that that file has been written. To do that, we do a cat mnt etc fs tab and hit enter. As you can see that the configuration file has been set up. You have the very top is our root partition. The second partition is our boot EFI partition. Then we have our home directory, and then we have our swap. So we're all set there. We're all good. Let's go ahead and clear the screen. And we need to chroot into our MNT to actually start our installs. So let's do an arch chroot MNT. Now let's set up our time zone. For me, I'm in America, in Eastern time zone, so I'll do an America in New York. If you don't know what to put and you've never installed Linux before, I'll go through the command first, and then I'll show you how to find your time zone. So for me, it's ln-sf user share zone. I'm in America, and New York, since I'm in the Eastern time zone, the etc local time, and hit enter. Now, if you don't know what to put here, again, like I said, mine is America, New York. You can always change the directory to the zone info. So we do a cd user share zone info and hit enter. Now we need to list the contents of that directory by typing in ls. And as you can see, you've got Africa, America, Antarctica, Arctic, Asia, Atlantic. So again, like mine was America, I can go into America. So we'll do a cd into America and ls to print out the list of the directory. I was in New York, so like the fourth column all the way down, you can see my time zone is New York. So at the top of the screen, you see that my command was user share zone info America New York. You would change yours to wherever you're at. Again, mine's Eastern time zone, and that's what I used. So let's clear up the screen. Let's see. It's time to do synchronizations. HW clock --sh QHS or C. And let's see. Now we need to do our locale, and the easiest way to do this is do an echo. Quote lang equals en underscore us dot utf dash dash 8, and that's going to go to etc locale.conf. Hit enter. Now we're going to set up our host name. I normally name my host something simple. I always have a hard time coming up with a cool name, so I just go with Arch. So let's create our host name, which is going to be echo arch etc host name. Now, since we've configured our host name, we need to set up our host file. In order to do that, we'll do a nano etc host and hit enter. Here we're going to do our loopback adapter, which is going to be 127-0-0-1 localhost, our IPv6 address, loopback, localhost, and 127.0.0.1, and the name of our computer that we gave, which for me was Arch, our local domain, and then Arch again. So replace Arch with whatever you named your computer. And Control X out of that. Yes, we're going to save it and keep the host file name the same. So we hit enter and we're back at the prompt. And let's clear the screen. So our next step we're going to do is install a network manager. If you forget to do this and you reboot, you're not going to have any network. So you're going to probably screw yourself. So let's not forget to do this during the initial install of Arch. So in order to do that, we'll do a pacman -S network manager. Hit enter. If I can spell it right. And accept the defaults. Now once it's finished installing, we have to enable it. If we don't enable it, we're screwed. So let's do a system Ctl Enable. Don't forget to do a capital N and a capital M, because if you do, it's not going to work. So our network manager is enabled. Let's clear the screen. Let's give our root a password, so when we do finish install and reboot, we'll have a password to log into root with. So let's do a passwd, type in a root password. Oops, I typoed it. Alright, so we have a root password. Next step is go ahead to install the boot manager, which is going to be Grub. So let's do a pacman -S Grub and EFI Boot MGR. Hit enter. Excuse me. Clear the screen. Grub install. Our target equals x86_64-EFI. EFI directory equals boot EFI. Just remember, this is the directory that we created in the very beginning. Hit enter. You should have no errors. Great, no error reported. So let's make our Grub Cfg. So we do a Grub mkconfig-o boot grub.cfg. Hit enter. Alright, we're all good. So we'll clear this out. I need to get out of chroot by typing in exit and enter. And I'll unmount our MNT partition. So we'll do an mmount umount -R MNT. Enter. And reboot. And hopefully you'll be rebooting into your fresh install of Arch. Voila! Congratulations, you just installed Arch. Still at a command prompt, so let's keep on going. We're not completely done. We still got to create a user and stuff. So let's log in as root in the password that we had created in the beginning. All right. Let's install bash completion. Bash completion is like if you didn't know a name of a package, if you know the first few characters or whatever, you can hit tab and it'll tell you the name of packages beginning with the first few characters that you typed. So it makes it easier. It's personal preference. I always install it. So I'll do a pacman -s bash completion. And yes. All right. Now let's go ahead and create our first user. Oh, well, obviously I have network. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get to that. You could have checked to see if your network was connected. But for the most part, if you followed along so far and you're hardwired, you should be good to go. So we got our bash completion. Let's create our first user. So let's do a user add, -M capital G for group. The groups we're going to be putting this user in is audio, video, storage, power, network, wheel, and RF kill. -S, and this is going to be a bash, and last the name of the user. For me it's going to be Rich. Hit enter. Now let's give Rich a password, so we'll do a passwd Rich and type in Rich's password twice. All right, password updated successfully. So we've created our user. So in order for that user to be able to do administrative tasks, we need to go into visudo and comment out our wheel group. And it's the wheel group that allows other users to be able to do administrative tasks. So in order to do that, we'll type in editor, all capital, equals, our editor of choice is nano, and then visudo. What we want is pretty much closer to the bottom, so scroll down to the bottom, and this is where you want, right here. This percent wheel all equals all. You want to uncomment that out and do a Control X. And then yes, Y for yes, and then leave that as default, hit enter, and you should be back at a prompt. All right. Now let's exit out of root. Since we have created our user, and we want to log in as our user and see if we can do refresh our mirrors. So actually, before we do that, let's enable our multi-lib repository. So let's do a nano etc pacman.conf. Scroll down on the bottom. Where you at? Multi-lib. There you are. Right here. Uncomment these two lines. Control X. Yes, and enter. And let's do a pacman SYU to refresh our repositories. You can see multi-lib was just refreshed, so that is enabled. All right, so now let's go ahead and type in exit to exit root, and we're going to log in as the user that we just created. So exit, and for me it's going to be Rich, and I'm logged in as Rich now. So to make sure visudo was set up correctly, we can try to refresh our repositories as our user. And basically what should happen is when we try it, it should ask for the root password. And if everything is good, it should accept it and refresh the mirrors. So let's go ahead and do a sudo pacman SYU, hit enter. Now it's asking you for the sudo password. And everything is good. So we're good. Now Arch Linux has what is called the AUR. That is the Arch Linux user repositories. It's basically a place, it's community package driven. The community has the ability to go in and create packages and place them in the AUR. There's thousands and thousands of packages in the AUR. And in order to install packages from the AUR, you need what is called an AUR helper. There are several AUR helpers. Mine, the one that I use, is Yay. The other one that I have used in the past is Trizen. But I happen to like Yay. If you want to follow along and install Yay, this is how you do it. The first thing we need to do is install Git. So we do a sudo pacman hash capital S Git, enter, and yes. Okay, clear the screen. So Git is installed. Now I happen to know this by heart. I've done this so many times. So we're going to get Yay from GitHub. So we'll do or that's not GitHub, AUR. So we'll do a git clone, https://aur.archlinux.org/yay.git. Hit enter. All right, it's installed. So we need to cd into the Yay directory. So we'll do a cd Yay, enter. Do an ls to list the contents of this directory, and all you see is a package build. From here, pretty much all you got to do is mk make pkg-is, and that will install Yay for us, which will allow us to install packages from the AUR. This takes a minute. Yes. All right, Yay is installed. Let's clear the screen. Now to make sure Yay is working, you want to do Yay Yay-SYU, kind of like you do with Pac-Man. Hit enter, and we're good. So Yay is installed. All right. Now for VirtualBox, there's really no graphics driver that you need to install. But if you're doing this on hardware, I have only had experience in NVIDIA video cards, so I would just install Pac-Man dash capital S NVIDIA, NVIDIA dash utils, and NVIDIA dash settings are the three packages that I install for NVIDIA. For the VirtualBox, I don't really have to do any video drivers. So we're going to go ahead and just install Xor and Xterm just to make sure everything is working graphically. So let's do a Pac-Man, let's do a sudo Pac-Man dash capital S Xor server Xor at I think it's at we'll find out Xterm and Xor X init and hit enter. Is it apps? Yeah. All right. This takes a minute. Okay, so that's installed. That was pretty quick. Let's clear the screen. In order to get into Xterm, let's just do a start X. Make sure everything is working graphically. And voila, start X. It's working. So we're good here. Let's exit out. Clear the screen. Now, I said I was going to install Plasma, so let's go ahead and install Plasma. I believe all I need to do is type in Plasma, sudo pacman s Plasma, and enter. Select the defaults, leave it as default, defaults again, and yes. We'll let this go. This will probably take a few minutes, so I'll go ahead and pause the recording and I'll come back when it's done. All right, it finished. Let's go ahead and clear the screen and let's try to reboot. Oh, I think I forgot something. All right, let's log in. Did I need to install LightDM? I think I did. Hey, live recording, let's troubleshoot. Let's go ahead and install LightDM. And I like to do LightDM WebKit to reader. Root password. Yes. Alright, now we need to enable LightDM. So do a sudo system Ctl LightDM enable LightDM. Now we need to set our greeter in the LightDM configuration. So in order to do that is sudo nano etc lightdm.conf. Hit enter. You're going to want to scroll down all the way to, starting here, go down to greeter. Let's uncomment that. change what they have here to the greeter that we installed, which is going to be lightdm dash webkit2 dash greeter. Do a Control X and yes, and enter, and let's reboot once more. All right, let's try to log into our KDE Plasma. So, password rich. All right. All right, we have Plasma installed. Normally, the next thing I like to try to do is go ahead and install the guest edition so we get the video drivers and everything going. So I'll go up top here to devices. Oops, install guest editions. Okay, let's unmount our Arch Linux drive. Let's force it and do insert guests. Let's bring up our we have Dolphin. Why don't we have Dolphin? Huh. Live troubleshooting, guys. Live troubleshooting. All right. So installing Plasma, I thought was the whole package. Well, apparently it's this minimal. So I don't have a file manager. So let's install Dolphin. Yes. I wonder if, see what else does it have. Yeah, let's do install console. That's KDE's terminal. Okay. Clear, let's exit. Let's see. Dolphin file manager. All right, here's our guest editions. Where's it at? Run media rich. Okay, so I'll open up. Well, let's see if we can do it from here. Where are you at? Vbox Linux run. Let's do execute. And I don't think that did it. I normally go through the terminal to do these installs because let's do console. CD into there. CD run media rich ls. Let's go into Vbox CD Vbox ls. We're going to run the sudo Vbox. Where are you at? Vbox Linux. How come it's not? Run. There we go. And root password. Once this gets installed, we'll have to reboot the VM. Reboot. Log back into our Plasma. Change our come on. There we go. Hey, come on now. Let's supposed to adjust my size automatically. Why aren't you doing it? Oh, the fun things. There. Oh, why does it do that and come back? I don't understand. There we go. Oh, that's weird, isn't it? Huh. Let's try that again. No. Wow. Alright, well, I'm not going to waste my time on figuring out why this won't stay. It's kind of weird. Alright, well, I did say I was going to show you how to get Plasma as a tiling window manager. So, in order to do that, let's go into the system settings. I think it's window management. Yep, KWin scripts. And let's get new scripts. And there it is right here, tiling. So doing install. I think the top one would be the latest. Let's do the top one. Alright, so it's installed. Now we have it here, so we can enable it. And if you open up something else, like Dolphin, it gets tiled. Because my resolution sucks. I don't know why. Maybe I need to reboot again. Let's try to reboot just for whoa. Let me reboot. Yeah, still weird. Why doesn't it go to 1920 by 1080? Well, in any case, there's your install of Plasma. I don't want to waste your time trying to troubleshoot why it starts at 1920 by 1080 and goes back to 1024 by 768. Your Plasma is installed. I showed you how to get the tiling window manager on KDE. I think that's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about this. I know I've gone probably too fast, but you can pause the video. I've done this install 1,000 times, so I normally do it pretty quick. But anyway, I hope you've got something out of it. You guys take care of yourselves. Stay safe.